Okay, good day everyone. Welcome once again to this edition of the Blaze Connected Construction series. So today we'll be talking about BIM implementation for SMEs, for small medium enterprises. And that's because we realize that BIM has been getting increased adoption in the building construction industry in recent years. But then there's also been a lot of awareness about BIM across Africa. But then a lot of SMEs still find it hard to kickstart their BIM journey, and they've attributed this to so many barriers. A lot of barriers have been identified over time for the reason why they find it hard to implement BIM. So in this edition of the series, we will explore some practical steps that SMEs can take to kickstart their BIM journey. And today our guest for this edition is Kaouthar JEDDA, who is currently a BIM consultant and also the founder and CEO of BIM Tunisia. So I'll leave Jeddah to tell us more about herself, her experience in the industry and also her current role as the founder and CEO of BIM Tunisia. So welcome to this edition.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Naima.
Yeah,
I'm very happy to share with you everything that I can advise with and all my knowledge. You are being giving too much also in this industry and sharing too much knowledge, which is very important in this new industrial revolution. And it's a technological revolution. I would present myself. I am Kaouthar JEDDA, Tunisian. I am architect, and I have a special maybe parcours because I lived in Saudi Arabia, and then I moved to Jordan, where I studied their architecture, and I worked there for a while. And when I came to Tunisia, it was a new adventure, completely a new adventure. And I started as an architect, and for me, being an architect was my dream since childhood. And during my work as an architect, I used to face too many problems daily problems that were repetitive everywhere, even when I changed the place of work. So it wasn't about the architecture itself; it was a problem about the process. So by the time maybe about 10 years of experience, I started to go into BIM processes and I started to practice some softwares like Revit, and I found that there is the solution for all our problems. It's maybe not all our problems for now, but it has many potentials. And ever since, it's been now 7 years or more that I started to work with BIM and teach BIM, because I found it very important to teach it the way that we work with in a professional way. It's not only a theoretical way. It's not only a software to work with, and to use all the potentials that we have. So in 2018, I founded BIM Tunisia. It was the idea of collecting the team of elites that can give a very professional training and services at the same time, and mostly research. We are always doing some researches, and at the same time presentation and sharing knowledge, because we know that you cannot learn alone. You cannot do anything alone. You have to do it in a community. So yes, that's what I really look forward, and that's what I'm doing here with you now.
okay, yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll just go ahead to ask the questions that I have for you today. So the first one has to do with companies being able to define the reason why they are even implementing BIM or embracing BIM for their project. So I believe it's pertinent that SMEs define their reason for embracing BIM and implementing BIM on their projects, and depending on their strengths and areas of focus, this can differ from one firm to another. So how would you advise a firm to go about defining its BIM goals and getting its employees and even clients to share in the goals they've defined?
Yes, actually, this is the first question I would ask anyone who comes for a service or training for BIM, because it differs really from company to another, whether it's its role in the industry, in the construction industry, or also its needs and also the team that they have. So the first question is, why are you trying to implement BIM? Is it to work as for modeling? Is it to work for a 3D dimension, or is it for 4D and 5D, which is usually for the contractors who can manage their budget and cost and on-site work, or even for clients who wants to keep the maintenance and follow up with their projects even after it's overhanded. So yes, it's 6D and 7D, and there are even more than this. And also depends on the size of the company. The size of the company defines how are they going to divide their work so they don't lose the speed they work with and the profiles that they are working with. So yes, the question why is very important. I can say also there are some companies who only wants to have a better management, actually. And yes, this is the theoretical part, not the technical part of BIM. So BIM has two phases. You have the theoretical and the technical part. You can do everything that has to do with management, and it's a good thing because it respects the new agility principles. So this will make them gain time in a way. Also, you have to consider that teams who are going to be technical, there are all teams who are working, so they have already their experience. It's been a long time that they were building their libraries and their standards, and so why would they learn something new if they were good enough in it, right? This is the first
Yeah.
question that they will ask you. Why change a team that is already winning? And that's the main goal here. You have to answer this question. So if you know how much you're going to gain from this, if you know how much time you're going to gain, because yes, time is the most important factor here. And also, the second factor is the budget of the project, because we are projecting ourselves in the future and we can see how the project is going to be, whether on site or after in the operation phase. So yes, you're gonna save time and you're gonna save money, and much more than that, you're gonna work in a better way, and you will keep your references for future potentials. So yes, so the question here, if I will re-ask myself again, why would a company adopt BIM? They have to think about two things. The first thing, the why, for what are they going to gain from this? What is the return? Which is time, cost, and potential future benefits. And the why, the other why is the role. What are the role? Because many times I have contractors who came to do some training and they want the whole package. They want to do trainings in all the fields, in all the specialities, while it's not their role to do this. And when they do this, I don't let them. If they do it, they end up not using anything because it's too many informations that is not going to be used at the end. It's not going to be produced by one person or one company. So it's a collaborative process where all the teams have to do their job. And yes, there are phases that are most important. Each time you go through the project, it becomes more necessary to implement BIM in the project because it will make you gain more time and more in the budget. And of course, a better quality. And when we talk about more time and a better quality, it means that you have more enough time to talk and think about details and quality and functionality instead of wasting your time in doing small coordination and repetitive detailing and technical drawings. So I hope I answered this question.
Yeah, definitely. It's very important to define why you are embarking on BIM and what exactly you stand to gain from it. Which I believe is those questions. Once you answer it, you now know which areas to focus your resources and your whatever it is you have. which I believe is the very first thing to do as an SME. Okay, so thanks a lot for that. The second question I have for you, one of the common barriers a lot of SMEs attribute to a poor implementation of BIM is associated costs. Some of them believe that it's very expensive. So how best do you think an SME can navigate the cost challenge as they embark on their digital transformation journey and also BIM implementation in their company?
Yeah, actually, this is an extension of the first question, because if you know why you're learning BIM, why you are implementing BIM, you will take only what you need, no more, no less. So when you do that, you're not going to do training for all courses that are there for BIM. I myself don't know everything. Nobody knows everything about BIM because it differs from your specialty and your role in the construction. So yes, so the first question leads us to the second question. So if you know what you have to learn, you will pay for less things because you will only pay for what you need. Now, let's come here to the cost barrier. It's very important to know that if you will change the way your company works, it's for sure, it's 200% that they will not be efficient as they used to be. And you will expect it to be 1 or 2 years minimum. They say in statistics, it's 3 years to implement a new way and a new technology in the process for anything, not only in BIM. So let's say that the right thing to do, and in my experience, how I saw with some clients that I gave training, there's the will of the client itself, the boss, let's say, and the will of the team. This is number one. These are very important. This is second thing. If the cost, this will make. The first point is important to make the cost. It's
Yeah, the cost implication.
yeah, exactly. And the second thing is not everything has to change all at once. You have to go step by step. This is the way that you can guarantee that you don't lose everything at the same time. Because as we said, you will work in a less speed. It's not really it's not really that you're gaining time from the beginning, but there is like you're investing in the beginning so that you can find what you have invested in your time later. So for example,
Yeah.
I give you an example about a company I trained here in Tunisia, and they had all of a sudden they had to they just finished the training for architecture in Revit, and they had to give a rendu, we say in French, for a project, and it was divided in 2 phases. So we didn't have enough time, so they had to use outsourcing, which is something that I advise with. But the outsourcing came in the second phase after already there was a training. So the outsourcing was like a coaching, and at the same time preparation for the things that will take time. So outsourcing worked with them as a team. They were all working together. And the first phase took 3 weeks, but it was with charrette, and they don't sleep at night. They sleep there at the office. They don't sleep actually. They keep working. They only take some pauses. But the final result was very nice because they were very happy that they really learned too many things during the process of working. And the second phase, they didn't need any outsourcing, any coaching, because they already had all the templates, all the families, they knew all the process, and they just had to repeat it. And the things that it used to take them 3 weeks to do, they did it in 1 week. So yes, I saw this, and not only with one client, with many, but I remember that this was the first client, and it was very interesting to see this potentials and this energy. And they were very happy because they know that they invested in the right way. So you can divide the implementation of BIM in 3 or even more 4 phases, depends on the project and on the team. The first time is the training, but you really have to find the will of the administration and of the team. The second the second phase is outsourcing and coaching. It will be like an assistance. It depends. It could be an assistant from outside or from inside. You can have someone who works for consulting for a period with the company directly, and they will prepare all the templates needed, all the coaching needed, and put everything in place. And then they are independent to do everything by themselves. So this is how I think that you can
Reduce the
reduce these limitations of the barrier of the cost, and it will be scalable. It doesn't mean that you'll give everything to for training and wait for your team to learn, and you won't give all your work for someone outside and your team is not learning, so you are always dependent. So yes.
All right, yeah, that's quite a good strategy. Combining, playing around with both the training and the outsourcing, and also that helps to ensure that you do it in a very scalable way and gradually over time. So, which for SMEs, that's a good approach to actually reduce the cost of going about BIM implementation. Okay, so earlier you mentioned standardization, the need to standardize and create a lot of templates. So, as a collaborative process, BIM requires a lot of standardization, like you mentioned, both at company and even at industry level. So, can you enlighten us on some necessary templates and standards that need to be put in place or even adopted by
Okay.
an SME for optimal implementation of BIM across their projects?
Okay. The question is, if you're asking me what are the standards to implement, I would tell you it's not that standards to implement. They are not really standards. They are standards that we agree upon all together. So it's a collaborative process, and that's all about BIM. It's a collaborative process. We have all to speak and to talk the same language. And to do that, we have to have the same standards. And standards are the translation of the work we do in a way that everyone in the team, even new team members, can understand what's happening. So standards could be first like naming convention, for example, like in the ISO, it's explained exactly how you should name your files and your views and your details. While these naming allows all the other teams to understand what's really the description of the file and of this file has to do with the project. This is for example, for the naming convention. But every company or every project could have different naming conventions. So at the end, it's a simple thing. It's like an Excel file that you will all agree on one thing. This is how we are going to call this thing, and this is how we're going to divide these things. And these things happens at the beginning of the project, at least, where you analyze a project and you prepare all the documents necessary for this. And then you can do it not alone. Of course, you will do it in collaboration, whether with your team or with other intervenant in the project. And then everyone will have this reference to come back to, as to understand what really means with this naming. So this is for the naming convention, for example. Other thing I would really appreciate if we agree on the parameters and attributes that we should include in a project. Why? Because these parameters, they justify what we are doing. I mean, we are not going to do parameters just like that. No, I have a goal, so I have some informations that I need to have, and these informations are going to be extracted from these parameters. So yes, you will have a goal that will lead you to parameters that are giving you the informations you need. So if you have a template at the beginning, it's very nice, it's very important also to have these parameters from the beginning, so you can prepare your work upon it. So you're building on something and you have the goal in mind when you're working, and all the team will have this goal in mind. So for example, we talked about in BIM Africa this year, we really talked about smart city in 2030. And the main problem is the climate change. And we are seeing what's happening in the whole world with all these different peaks in temperature. So we have to do something. And doing this, it's going to be, and buildings are the main contributor in the climate change. And to really, to be able to reduce what's CO2 or anything that's causing this from buildings, we have to have numbers. Numbers are real. Convince me with numbers. This way we can really talk. So parameters are the information that we need to know how to calculate these energy consumption and CO2 that is we are producing, to know how to make better buildings. So for example, I gave you an example of how we can use these parameters. So templates will have main two things, the naming convention and the attributes that we should work with. Let me not talk about other things, because there are many, many other things that we can add, but these are the basic things that anyone can do, and depends on the project and on the team and on the role and so on.
Okay, yeah, that's really insightful. I believe so. Those templates is something that is created collaboratively by all the parties that are involved, and everyone start off a project using those templates, I believe.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so the templates, is it like a Revit template? I mean, like I'm talking about, is it on a software level, or is it on a document level? Is it a document that specifies those information, or is it within a software? Let's say Revit, for
nice
example.
question. Nice
Yeah.
question. Yes, since we are talking about an international collaboration, so it doesn't have to be one software. Yes, it's true. I can put it in one software. In, for example, Autodesk Revit, we are using this, so we have a template for that, and we have these attributes. But since you cannot really know if you're gonna use Revit or the others are going to use Revit, so you will need to use the IFC format
Yeah, industry
for
foundation
the
classes.
BIM. Yeah, for the BIM. So there are many. Actually, what I like about IFC, that you have more classification than what we have already in Revit, for example. So yes, it's very important. So you can have it as an Excel file. It's not a problem, but you have to know how to define it in IFC, so you can really find it later in any language, in any process, in any software. So yes, it's very important to use the IFC attributes and classification to be able to use these attributes everywhere.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot for the clarification. I also believe that it has to do with, if at the beginning of the project everybody's already working on the same platform, perhaps they can agree to use just that. But in a case where they are not so sure of the software they are using, then the IFC might be the best approach.
Yes, although it looks hard at the beginning, honestly, but yes, you have just to give it a try, a step by step, and this is how you learn anything that has to do with technology. Nothing comes from the beginning. You have to try and test again. Anything wrong? Sometimes you were doing something wrong without knowing, so just repeat and go and so on. That's how I learned for myself, for example.
Yes, sure, definitely. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. So most of the times that we talk about BIM, we don't really talk much about the role that clients have to play, to help SMEs to implement BIM faster. So, in your opinion, what role do you think clients can play to accelerate BIM adoption, especially by SMEs in Africa, to be more specific?
Let me talk about Tunisia, for example. What would make a
Okay.
client or any architect or engineer go to implement BIM? It's a big investment anyway. And why do I change it? Maybe something just a la mode, let's say. Well, as I told you, if you know the why, you will do everything to just take it. And and the only way that made people change the way they work is when it became obligatory. When it became obligatory, for example, many projects here in Tunisia some many projects are from the Gulf. The clients are from the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and so. And these countries has it as an obligation to work with Autodesk softwares. So yes, they had to learn Autodesk, even though they used to work with AutoCAD, or some others worked BIM, but with Archicad. So obligation is a must. And I noticed here in Tunisia, the second phase came with the big clients and contractors clients, actually, clients who were making it an obligation for anyone to come work with you, with them, to work with BIM, or to make a partnership with other people who can do the outsourcing, like a coaching and assistance. And let's say I don't think this is wrong. This is very logical because they are the ones who know that how much they are going to gain, and they want to have the reference of the model later on, right? So
Yeah.
they have a good reason to make it obligation. And although for architects, especially architects, it makes their life much easier for architects and engineers. And for the contractors on site, they really gain too much from their budget and from materials. So yes, everyone is really a winning here. But why would I change? There must be someone who makes it obligatory. Also, we have a few nice steps also from the government. They started to test this obligation on public projects, and it looked weird at the beginning, but it made everyone wants to know what this is, what's BIM, and why should we all go there. It's like just when they moved from drawing with hands and they moved to AutoCAD. So now we are moving to BIM,
To
which is
be
more
more.
than 3D, which is so much more than 3D. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So thanks a lot. So obviously, there needs to be a lot of push coming from the side of client, especially the government, because government is also one of the biggest clients we have currently in the
But
industry.
I would like to add
Yeah.
something, please, Naima.
Okay.
Many times I hear that we have to start with the government. We have to start with the government. Government has to make it obligatory. No, you have to start by yourself. If you don't have a structure that of rules and regulations, you don't need to wait for them. You know what's best for you, and you will do it. So, as I said, the private client, has the main role here. And they didn't
Yes.
wait for the government to make it obligation here. So don't wait for government, because the government, they have already their own problems, and it's very difficult for them to invest to implement BIM for them. So let's not wait. Let's do it ourselves. And yes, it's gonna be a good thing at the end. Even if it was an obligation from the country, from the government, we will invest ourselves. That's it. The investment is from you, from the government, and from the team, and from the technical, and so that's it. Don't wait for governments to do the first step. We can try and test, and when they see that it's winning, it's a winning role, it's a winning card, let's say, they will make it an obligation. Like, for example, I remember we do already now. We have an obligation to give a project on AutoCAD for the municipalities in Tunisia.
Okay.
So soon it will be a project on Revit. So yes, that's how it goes. This is the game.
Yeah, obviously it's a gradual step, and you need to start from from a personal, then to the big clients, and then all the way to the government. And you have to start from somewhere. Basically, the more you achieve results, the more you can prove the benefits of the entire
And
process.
I believe that BIM, it's like a train. It's running and it's running. And if you just don't take the train from now, you will be very too late later. So don't wait for obligation to just to start, because it is the revolution.
Yes, definitely. I completely agree with you on that. Okay, so I have one last question here. So currently, when you look at a lot of SMEs, I mean, you are a BIM consultant, also offer some level of consultancy in BIM. It's not hard to see that there's a low level of BIM expertise within SMEs across Africa. So I have about three different approaches that I think that might help to, help to fill this gap. So I'll ask, in your opinion, which of them do you think is better and why? So the first one I have is integrating BIM into the school system as early as possible so that people learn these stuffs before they even come out of school. And then the second option I have here is roundtable discussions. Whether it's formal or informal roundtable discussions to discuss, people share knowledge of their experiences and the mistakes they've made, their success stories, and all that. And then the third option is on the job training and certification program. So, of course, I understand that these are good approaches, but in your opinion, which of these do you think is the best one, and why do you think is the best one?
Okay, exactly. As you said, they are all good options. They have to be done actually, and I will classify them. Maybe this is as how I see things. I think that first of all, you will always need to present to make, let's say, to explain the why first. So to explain the why, they have to start to touch it. I remember myself the first time I started to work with Revit, I really loved it. As an architect, for me, it was the solution. But the time when I started using parameters, it was more than love. So you have to know really what's going to give back to you. So I am still surprised right now that I still have engineers and architects who doesn't really know what's BIM. They only think it's a 3D model that you can have 2D from it and some quantities. No, it's so much more than that. And I think this is the first thing. It's sensibilization. So it's presenting and teaching. And when the client is engaged with the process, he will have the will to teach his team. And this is the first point. So on the job training, this is very nice. This is very important. You will have always someone who's responsible to train, and doesn't have to be someone, maybe anyone who has anything new, because really Revit and not Revit, BIM has too many faces and too many dimensions. So you can have in one company 3 and 4 people. Everyone is specialized in something, and everyone has fallen in love for something, because it's completely different, from modeling problems to parametric problems to 4D and 5D, to coordination, to automation, to really it's infinite. So this is the first point. It's very important to have someone from the team or all the team collaborating together, and everyone has something to know. They will teach it to the others. And yes, I know a company here in Tunisia who's doing this, and they are really very good in that. I really salute them. It's called AMA Group, and they are doing nice projects with BIM in Africa. The second option is roundtable discussions. Now, this subject, I remember I talked to you about it before. Many of us started at the beginning, and we used to say, okay, here I discovered a solution for this problem, and we practice on forums, and we try to present things that we do, and so. And sometimes you find after a year that it was completely ridiculous. This is not the good way to do it. You will learn with the time, with experience, and with other problems, that there is a so much better way to do that. So yes, it's good to talk all together and communicate and pass the knowledge to each other. So it's like the team in the same job, that they share their knowledge, and everyone what they learned, and try to pass the information. It's the same thing. Now, I have to point something here. Many people would say, so why do I give my knowledge that I spent years to learn for others for free also? And now this is a very important question, right?
Yes.
I think that first of all, the field of BIM is mature enough, but it still have too many potentials to discover. And we are discovering problems that we are trying to put standards for them, and solution and regulations, and so. And I won't say that there is really a one source that has all the right information. This is not, nobody can tell you that this is the best way to do that, or this is the best way to do that. No, there is nothing like that. You have all the options there, and you will have to choose yourself. You will try, you will test. So, and as I told you, it's a very big field, so you can never know everything. So it's good to share knowledge, and this knowledge will make us work better and work for something better. I mean, I should not worry about the level of modeling or little problems, because BIM is not made for that. I believe that in few years, modeling is not the problem anymore. It's not the problem. Everyone would know how to model. But what you can do with the model This
Yes,
is the
the
thing that
information.
will make it different. Yes. And the last option, which is integrating BIM in schools. Yes, it's very nice because I believe that they have the ability for the children have the ability to understand the model because they think it's a play. My family, the children in my family, they think that I'm playing when they see me watch me working. So yes, they can use it, but this is for the long term project goal because they will as I told you, in a few years modeling is nothing, it's a game. You will have to use this information for something better. So yes, you can include it in teaching. It's a very nice way to understand physics and construction and everything that has to do with that, and geometry and parametric and algebra, many things you can learn with the BIM for in that school. So they will be ready to do what is more than only modeling and these things.
Yeah, so apparently the three options, they are all important, but like you mentioned, you can start from the company level, and then you progress all the way to, the school system. So the school system is more like a long
Yes.
term game for the entire industry. Yeah, so obviously all of them can be combined at the same time to, improve the level of BIM expertise within SMEs. Okay, so we had a couple of comments coming in. I'll just go through some of the questions I have here. I think the
Okay.
first question I have here is from Shiamba, and he
Hello,
asks,
Shabab.
yeah, okay, so he asks how ISO 1950 can help us to implement BIM in SMEs. So perhaps the role
Yes,
of
yes.
ISO 19650, yeah.
Yeah, I remember once I wrote an article, a small post on LinkedIn. I think it was by 2 o'clock in the morning. And yes, ISO is the solution. It can help so much. And why? Because first of all, ISO was made after the BSI, but it was made after too many reports and analysis made by the government of England and United Kingdom. Sorry, and they had too many studies, as I told you, and tests, and so, and it talks about steps of technical organization and classification, that talks about naming convention and CDE and so. But the second part, which is very important, it talks about the tendering phase, and how you analyze your needs for the project, your capability to do the project, and um, how to prepare everything from the beginning. And even now that I'm taking a course for Scrum Master, and I found out
Okay.
that it's totally applied in BIM and in the ISO and in the templates of the execution plan. Everything was applied there. So yes, they didn't do something just from nothing. No, there was too many studies and analysis doing there. Now I talked only about two parts of the ISO. It has many other parts. How you organize your collaboration with the other teams, and how you exchange information. All these are there, and they are very organized. I only have one thing about it, is how to make it less talk and more practice. But these are ISOs and standards. That's how they are. You have to learn how things go on, and you have to see how it's applied in the work. But me as an architect and you as engineers, you want always to see how is it in the practical way. So it depends, everyone has his role, but it's very important to understand and study ISO. Actually, everyone who wants to become a BIM manager has to study ISO at the first step, as a first step.
Yeah, so obviously it has a lot of roles to play, and from what you said, if not anything else, it helps to structure the information and also the collaboration process between an SME and other stakeholders on a project. So obviously there's a whole lot of roles that ISO 1960 can play for SMEs. Okay, so the next question I have here is, say, what is your advice to organizations just waiting for clients to demand BIM before they embrace it? So which I believe you've already talked about it earlier that
Ah,
it's
okay.
you don't have to wait for clients, but of course you can also shed more light on it.
Yeah. Well, it depends. If the company have a free time, yes, they should invest their time in learning. So learning could be BIM or other things, right? So I advise every company in the construction to implement BIM and start studying. But usually we don't have enough time. We don't have free time. So if you don't have free time, it's okay. Don't worry. It's very normal. You will find yourself doing it with when it's demanded. But the problem is if you have a project that is demanded in with BIM and you don't have the team who can work with it. So you have to find the first thing you have to find the partners who can be coach or assistant, outsourcing or something like that. And to find these partners, you have to test them before. You're not going to take the risk with the project, right? And you won't make two
Definitely.
teams work on parallel. Your team work on in 2D and the outsourcing work on 3D. So yes, you have to find the right partners at least in advance, or start training and testing, and preferably to start training and test and choose a pilot project to start preparing a simple template for you for your work and start estimating the work. And it's not really that difficult. Maybe at the beginning, any new technology, it's hard to adapt, but just 3 weeks training and working. I mean, yeah, you will start to find it easy.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the clarification. So obviously, it still has to do with combining training and outsourcing, and without having
Yeah,
to wait for clients to do everything. So this is actually not a question. I think it's a comment. He said, "I agree. It doesn't have to be obligatory from the government. Apple did not seek approval from the government to invent the iPhone. Likewise, every innovative technology." So yeah, so he's
thank
saying
you,
that
Christopher.
as SMEs, we don't have to wait for government to mandate BIM before we, like you
Actually,
mentioned
it's
earlier.
the need, it's the need of it, the user. So when the user needs it, you will just do it.
Yes. So this is a very interesting question. It asks, can someone train himself on BIM?
Yes, absolutely yes. But you will have to be like, when you start to learn guitar, for example, or piano, you will have to train 6 hours a day. They will tell you that. And it's true. If you do so, you will learn. And the same with BIM, with any software. So if you start to work on a project, on a simple thing, anything, and you will have too many obstacles from the beginning, and mashallah, there are too many tutorials on the net. Too many, it's infinite. But you have to choose the right ones, because not all of them gives you a good information or really useful information. And sometimes some gives you the wrong way to do it, but they always have the way to do it. Now, the problem is with learning with yourself. You will start to search on the net. You will open 20 videos on the same time because they look interesting, but you will not watch everything, or maybe not watch anything, because it will become too much. So that's why you will have to choose a goal to look for. And you have to be patient at the beginning and spend too much time between watching and trying and testing. And so yes, you can learn yourself, at least at the beginning. Maybe later there are some training needs for specialized things, for example. But I believe that there are too many who in the field and experts who didn't do any training outside. And even certifications is not important, but certifications is something that will present you outside. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you might not even have any choice but to gradually train yourself, because like you said, you might not have all the time in the world to go for a physical training or travel outside of your country. So
Yeah.
someone can train himself. But I think Christopher also mentioned something here. So he said yes, you can, but that's a lot harder
Yeah.
and longer.
Yeah.
It's like saying, can someone teach himself engineering? Of course, but you'll be better off having a professional to guide you.
Okay, I will add upon this, and yes, sometimes at the beginning for a new software, it would look really, really like you're in a desert and you really don't know where to go. So this is the problem. I remember myself at the beginning, even myself, the first time I started with a project with no template. It was my mistake. I wanted to start and no template, there was nothing. So when you have nothing, you don't know what's happening. So you think it's your mistake. It's not your mistake. And then later, when I started to work and I know how it worked on, I had other problems that I thought it was my mistake. Then I found out no, that the software doesn't do that. So yes, when you have the information from a professional guide, it will make you really gain too much time. So if I would advise, if you can, it's good to start with the basics. And later you will know your way because you will understand the logic of the software. This is something. And the other thing is never expect from a course to give you all the information because it's really too many informations that can never be done in one course. And one course, how much it's going to be? It's going to be 30 hours maximum, 35. Even if you practice, everything has its own program. So, but you will learn the logic of the software, so you can search by yourself later. And depends from someone to another. It really depends. I had people who wants guidance from the beginning, and then they would go and search by themselves. And once I had, not only once, but I remember this guy very much. He came for a level 1 training. I gave him level 2 because he was already knowing everything, because he searched for, he tried it, everything. So yes, you can do by yourself. And I really advise, although if you feel a little bit lost at the beginning, it's okay to start with a training or a guidance, even individual mentoring, and then you will know how to look yourself and how you test.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot for that insights. Obviously, it varies from individual. Some people are more energetic when it comes to learning. Some people want you to, grab their hands and even move the mouse. So it depends on the person you are dealing with as well.
Yes. Some people want it online, doesn't matter. Some people want something recorded. Some people no, they have to be just next to you and
Yes.
under and, and take your guidance. And this is very normal. I do understand. You remember when I told you the first time I started a project without a template. I shut
Yes.
down everything, and I think I came back after 3 months, maybe, or something. So imagine how much time I lost, and I could not come back next time. So it's good that I came back.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so someone is asking about the experience in Tunisia. So he's asking, are the ROI good for the company that implemented BIM in Tunisia? So perhaps based on your experience and
um,
training so far.
it's good for sure. I can assure you that. Just I don't have statistics, unfortunately, but yes, it's good. As I told you, a project that we used to take 2 months to do. It was done in 3 weeks, and the second phase was done in 1 week. So yes, it was really. This is for a beginning team. So later on, it became, they always work too much, but they give too much work instead. They give the double of the work. So, and they have enough time to make their project better and better quality. So yes, it's so much good for Tunisia, and not only Tunisia, I'm sure. Only we don't have too many statistics in that.
Yes. So which is also, I believe, the African BIM report. That's one of the things is also trying to do, trying to get, hear from people that have been implementing BIM and hear what have been their experience,
Yeah. BIM
the
Africa has a
barriers and
report. Yeah, BIM
yeah.
Africa
So I
has a
think
report for that.
yeah, the next edition I think it should be out by next year, hopefully.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's basically a survey that's around that. So I think I've gone through most of the questions we have here, which are all from YouTube. But before we round up, I normally ask some of these random questions. So I have two questions for you actually before we close.
Mm-hmm.
And the first question I have is, what's your favorite plugin and why? So I believe, of course, no software is complete. Sometimes you need to add add-ins, plugins, and all that to complement. So what's your favorite
Yes.
plugin so far?
Actually, I work mostly with Revit. Of course,
Yeah,
I work with the other softwares, but and especially for other missions. But I work mostly with Revit. There are too many plugins actually, and you have to have other plugins because Revit has its limits. So yes, you have to use
yes,
plugins or Dynamo scripts. So actually, for me, I really use too much the D-Roots plugins. It's a package of six, and now there are seven plugins, and they are
okay,
very useful. They are really made in a nice way. Mostly, I use them because they are useful for parameters, for sheets and views, and for revisions. And also right now there is the new Point Cloud plugin. I really like the quality of their plugins. There are also the BIM Track. It's a plugin integration with the BIM Track platform. It's really useful for communication. And even if you are communicating with a 2D team, not only so it facilitates the communication between 2D and 3D teams. And lastly, I really advise that we start working with Dynamo to create our own plugins
scripts.
because, yeah,
Yeah,
scripts, sorry, because
yeah,
actually it became a business, and all there are many softwares, many platforms that are you have to pay, and they're very expensive. So those who doesn't have the money cannot be
afford.
able cannot afford them. Yes, so but what I like that I follow someone who's called Kevin Cramp, BIM,
Okay, yeah,
yes,
BIM
BIM,
Guru. Yeah,
BIM Guru, Australia, and
yes,
he's really doing nice work because everything that you need to do with other softwares or plugins or platforms, he's doing it with Dynamo. He's testing and trying and learning, and he's sharing his knowledge. And yes, when I see him how he's doing, I don't need to pay for plugins. I don't need to search for plugins that has limitations. I can do some things for myself. So on the scale of a company, it's really useful to do your own Dynamo team that will create the scripts for you, personalized scripts,
okay.
customized. Yeah,
Yeah, Shamba is asking if you do program. So
I
do you program or use other plugins? And which do you
no, no, I
recommend for
don't.
budget?
Okay, I don't program plugins, but I do use Dynamo. I really use it on a daily basis. But yeah, this is my son. They missed me for an hour now. I do
Okay.
some Dynamo. It's like it's a visual programming. So yes, I do some programming like that. But no, I didn't go there yet. But hopefully, I do. Hopefully,
Okay.
this is
All
something I
right.
support.
Yeah, of course, like you mentioned, is a learning curve too. You have to also take time to learn that one as well.
Yeah, yeah. But it's good to have a specific goal, a specific need, and then you learn and you search for it. Because if you're going to start, for example, start Dynamo or programming from no need, you will be lost again, as if you're in a desert. But when you have a special need, you will look for it because you have tools for geometric modification and automation, and tools for paper things like say parameter information automation,
Documentation and others.
yeah, documentation and so and
Yeah,
analysis.
yeah, it's very important to know what you want so that you don't just go all over the place. So I have one last question, which I think we've already talked about earlier, but I'll just ask again. So do you think BIM mandate is a good approach to accelerate BIM adoption in Africa? And why or why not?
So this is the question that we talked about already.
Yes, we already
Yes,
talked about it.
it has to be obligation. There has to be an obligation and mandatory, but it doesn't have to be from the government inside. It could be from the private client. It could be from you. And it's when we go back to the first question again, when you know the why and when you know how much you're going to gain from it, you will do it yourself. You don't need to wait for an obligation to do it.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for all the responses, for
Thank
all the
you.
insights.
If
Yeah.
we receive any questions, of course, I'm available for anything. I hope I was a benefit for you and for all the community. And I hope that
Yeah,
we
sure,
always do
definitely.
some roundtable about even more specific things like Dynamo scripts and plugins and problems and how we solve it. And so, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome. So before we go, I don't know if you have any parting word, maybe for someone that wants to start a BIM journey, or for an SME that wants to start, or just any advice that you might have.
For someone to start an SME,
No,
to start
an SME that wants to
for what
start a
some,
BIM journey. Yeah.
yeah, I advise them to start teaching themselves at least by a project, a simple project, and they will. When you start to touch it, you will start to understand what is the benefits that it will give you, and this way you will be ready when the client come. I believe that you should be ready before the client comes. Otherwise, you cannot be credible for an offer if you don't really know the minimum at least. So yes, start learning, whether on job training or outside or outsourcing, just for some. I mean, not outsourcing. No, outsourcing comes later. But start training, whether on the company level or in the individual level, because, and the second thing, start a pilot project, because this is your exercise. This is where you start to really touch BIM.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the insights. So this is something we do every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, we invite someone either from the industry or from the academia to share their experience, as regards our practice in the industry generally, and also with focus mostly on Africa. So it's been a
Thanks for
pleasure having you today. So I also look
thank
forward to having subsequent, featuring you in a subsequent episode.
inshallah, inshallah, and you too. I really look forward to hear from you and your presentations also. I believe that
Yeah.
you have too many things also to share with us, and thank you for inviting me and for listening to me. And I hope I was benefit for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. But before we go, I just wanted to find out the training you do at BIM Tunisia. Is it limited to physical training, or do you also do like on-demand training, or maybe online courses and stuff like that?
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, we do physical training, yeah, for companies, especially, and sometimes
Okay.
when there are demand, we do some training for private groups. But many comes also online. Sometimes there are
Okay.
Tunisians in Europe who comes spend their vacation studying here. They come for individual training, but with the COVID, it really opened the mentality to do everything online, and yes, it worked very well. It's nice actually, because you are more free and you can adapt the conditions and environment. What we do also, we do services like modeling and coordination and the coaching, and I really like the when I start with a company for a project, and it's like implementing BIM and at the same time doing their own project, so they are winning both sides. So
Yeah. So
they
it's a
end up
practical.
yeah, they end up having a template, a BIM execution plan, and they have all, they know all the processes needed, and at the same time, where they guaranteed that they have a project with a good quality at the end. So yes, we do all. I believe that it's a part of the work is work for to teach and for the money, of course, but a part of another part of the work is the research that we do every day. I believe that talking to you, talking to others, and I really like to focus about technical problems that we have to find solutions for. And when we find these solutions, it's good to use them, invest them, do some publicity, and yes, share the knowledge. So, in a way, it's the sharing of the knowledge, whether as only a training or other side. Um, that's it. So you have to give when you take. That's it. So,
Yes, definitely.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Definitely, it's been a great session and also a lot of insights from you.
You can
So,
see my son here playing in the back.
so I'll definitely still keep in touch and we look forward to seeing you again on a
Thank
future
you.
episode.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you everyone as well. We'll see you
Thank
again.
you, everyone.
Uh,
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Laima. Thank you, everyone.
yeah, take care.
Bye.